Good afternoon, members of IFHE Council. My name is Donna Pendergast and I'm excited to be presenting this pitch to you this afternoon. It has the title Beyond the Horizon, which reflects my views about where we need to be thinking about IFHE as a member-based organisation. My connection with IFHE is long-standing. I've served in a range of roles, including the Pacific Region Vice President, the Executive Officer, the founding chair of the think tank committee and the founding editor of the International Journal of Home Economics. I've worked professionally in home economics for my entire career and have professional degrees at undergraduate, postgraduate levels, including graduate diploma, masters and PhD. So I have a strong commitment to the field of home economics. For my presentation today, I've been asked to address two issues. One, how to develop IFHE, and two, especially how to increase membership. Of course, they're not mutually exclusive, and the presentation I will make to you today will reinforce the way I go about thinking about issues such as this. There are two key principles that underpin my sharing this afternoon. One is that we need to be looking beyond the horizon, so not at the next 4 or 5 years or 10 years, but in the next couple of decades. And the second is that we need to be focusing on inclusion, not exclusion. So that's inclusion to our profession and to our professional membership. And to highlight that the challenges that we face as an international organisation are challenges facing member-based organisations around the world. And transformation is required in order to ensure our sustainability. As a researcher and academic, I always go to the literature to see what is being said by experts in the field, and hence I will do that this afternoon as well. So what's the literature telling us about the future for our professional organisations and what can we learn from that? Then I'll go to an original data source that I've produced over the last week or so, and finally reflect on what this means for IFHE. The literature around membership-based organisations suggests that transformation is essential in order to survive and to sustain our professional identity. And regardless of this particular position at the moment, there are key things that professional associations do, and those are noted there for you to have a look at. Importantly, providing network opportunities, advocating, delivering PD and sharing knowledge and information remain high on the agenda. The literature also tells us that we need to meet members where they are, that involvement alters perspective. So if we can get people engaged, then they will become more engaged, that we need to offer value, and that's value for the input that's provided, whether it be time, money or effort, and that there is a strong focus on curated information rather than the production of new information. This is a contemporary view of what membership-based organisations need to do at this point in time. The literature tells us that membership-based organisations are successful when they have balance in their value proposition, and that is that the individuals join and retain membership because it outweighs non-membership. And so the kinds of things that we need to take into consideration are that the time, the effort, the commitment, as well as the money is worthwhile, and that the networking, the respect that comes from being a member are all key values that are associated with being part of that membership. Importantly, benefits granted only to members have to be a stronger influence than anything else. Following this insight from the literature, which is extensive and can inform us in our decision making, I also undertook to discover firsthand what might be being said about IFHE as a membership-based organisation at this time and what that information can tell us. I conducted an online survey over a period of 1 week in early February this year, and I designed 13 questions on a survey monkey using snowball sampling. So this is not intended to represent all of the views, but to provide a snapshot in time of what some people were prepared to say about IFHE membership and membership of professional associations in home economics in general. Along with a lot of demographic questions to set the scene and give value to the responses, I really wanted to know what would make IFHE an organisation that you would be keen to be a member of. That was one explicit question. And what would encourage you to deepen your involvement with IFHE. if you're already a member. Time doesn't allow me to go deeply into the demographics, but I can say that I received 477 unique responses, which astounded me, a quick response in a week. And clearly there's an appetite for providing and sharing ideas around membership of IFHE. The age group around, of those 477, about half of the respondents were aged 50 or older, and about half were in the younger age group. Gender, the majority were females, but there are a small number of males. Interestingly, there were responses from 39 countries around the world, and snowballing means that you don't know where the responses are going to end up. Because of my connections and because of the way I set up the survey, unsurprisingly, 38% of respondents were in Australia and a large number in Canada and Ireland and the USA. But you'll see the list of other responses where they were located. So quite an interesting study from around the world. The most common educational qualification from the survey participants was that they had completed a bachelor degree or equivalent. But many, more than 20%, had completed a master's, and more than 20% had completed a doctorate. So 40% had completed higher degrees. I also wanted to know what work people were doing, and you'll see that the majority, around 50%, so half of the respondents, are involved in school teaching, and then a further 20% involved in tertiary education. That provides particular insights around IFHE. A small number, less than 5%, were in industry and business each. Interestingly, of the 477 home economics respondents, only 61% are a member of any home economics association, and there was a vast range of associations they held membership. 21% were IFHE members, and of these, only 5% belonged to IFHE only. 16% were members of both another professional association and IFHE. In terms of the length of membership of IFHE, about equal numbers, around 10%, were less than 5 years, 10% more than 5 years, and about 5% were in the 6 to 10 years category. And this particular data set also had a higher profile of people who were members of IFHE holding doctorates than any other qualification. Profoundly, when asked why they were not a member of IFHE, 355 people responded to this question, with more than 40% indicating they did not know about IFHE. And these are home economists around the world. Cost also was a relevant point, but you'll see the other issues that were raised by the respondents. In response to the question, what would make IFHE an organisation you'd be keen to be a member of, we conducted a thematic analysis of the 248 responses, and we found that information and resources, so content, was very significant in terms of what people were seeking, with about more than 150 responses of those 248 looking for that. Community and networking next, professional development and learning, membership, and so forth. The data also revealed extensive qualitative commentary, and here's a sample of it. There is much, much more, and we can learn a lot from reading this detail. I'm very happy to share all of this with the executive of IFHE in due course. The data produced around all of those categories is extensive and informative, and here's an example of what was generated out of just one of those, information and resources. So we discovered that the respondents value accessibility, relevance and currency, and they want it to be contextualised. In terms of accessibility, they're looking for curated information, not necessarily original, but curated, and for it to be distributed, mostly via the website and by social media and newsletters. And these are the features they're looking for: findability, user-friendliness, job opportunities, activities, contemporary issues, and so forth. So the survey has provided rich information that can assist us in our deliberation. In response to a question about how to deepen members' involvement in IFHE, There were 71 respondents to this, so these are people who were already members of IFHE, and these are the kinds of responses they provided. Very insightful yet again, and focusing around the themes that came out of the data itself. There were comments around costs, revitalising of IFHE, the type of professional development that's being sought, how we can build community and connection, recognition around IFHE awards, and rich experiences. And the detail around all of these suggestions is comprehensive, relevant, and very contemporary. And you'll see there things such as social media, gamification, networking, etc. appearing. So far, I've looked at the literature around membership-based organisations. I've gone to a primary data source to inform my thinking around this. And now I'm going to reflect on what does this mean for IFHE. And I'm going to take it that there's an assumption around people know the structures and functions and constitution of IFHE, not restate that in this moment, and to know the work that we're currently doing, because I don't have time to go into that. So I'm taking that as a given, that all of you are very familiar with that. In the context then of those three aspects, what needs to be done to develop IFHE and to increase membership? Well, naturally, this is not a job that the President takes on alone. It is a job for all members of IFHE and for our executives in particular. There are a number of key features or key elements that we need to address. And this is in line with the developments that we've seen in recent years, the reworking of our website, stronger connections around, for example, the Sustainable Development Goals and the agendas around that, the WHO, UNESCO, the large agendas that are driving some of our wicked problems. And so within that context, we see that these key features are relevant: participation, contribution, ownership, rich experience, sense of values, relevance, and curation. And for each of those, we need to develop a set of strategies that are workable, doable, and achievable. I'll give you an example. The list of examples that I've provided here are key strategies, and you'll see in brackets the elements that they respond to in terms of having a plan for building our membership and sustaining it into the future. And so there are some ideas here which are achievable in very short, sharp investments in terms of time and energy. And they're really about strategy. So what do we do with what we already know? And an example is that we've produced a series of 30-second video resources called Did You Know? And it could be, did you know that home economics focuses on well-being? Did you know that well-being is this? Did you know that IFHE is a 100-year-old organisation that represents home economics around the world? Did you know? And it's a visual resource that can be used in a range of different settings. We need to grow the website in the direction it's been growing, but continue to grow it. And we need importantly, we need a social media strategy that is not monthly or quarterly, but is weekly. We need to work on at least a weekly base, and importantly connect with local professional groups. There's a whole series of strategies around that. IFHE isn't alone as a membership-based organisation to be faced with these challenges. And another organisation that I'm a board member of, the Australian Council of Deans of Education, has taken on and very successfully addressed some of the concerns around MBOs and how we retain their currency. And so we can learn from others. And so one of the important strategies that I recommend we bring is that we look more widely and comprehensively at those who've been successful in this area, not try to create it ourselves. In closure, IFHE is at a pivotal point in terms of its future. We do need to work strategically in order to build a sustainable organisation that represents the needs of home economists globally, and we need to do that in ways that are strategically aligned and that take on board the transformation guidelines that are being presented to all membership-based organisations at this time around the world. The way to do it is to look ahead, to look beyond the horizon, and to be inclusive in our practices rather than exclusive, and to work out how we build that comprehensively. Together we can do that, and this is a collective effort in order to achieve this outcome. I'm delighted to present this presentation to you with a view to being a really key part of that strategy moving forward.